When you're building a home, you're dealing with the specifications of the house. Then you're building with design changes, and CCC. With development, add another 5 layers to it. It's just quite complex.
What is success to you?
I think it was a learn to love it experience.
And there's always pitfalls that you can fall in, but then you've got no one else to blame but yourself.
Number one thing if you're struggling is to catch up with people about it.
Hey guys, before we kick off this episode, I just want to thank our content partners. You guys know it, Abodo, for supporting the Better Builder podcast. Now, I've actually firsthand heard from a lot of builders who love working with Abodo timbers. Over the last 20 years, they've perfected the art of thermally modifying New Zealand radiata. Now, that just means there's no chemicals on there. They pretty much just use steam and heat to modify the timber. So what does that mean? It's great on the tools, it's super light, it's durable and stable, which we know helps deliver a great end result for your clients. Good job, Abodo. Now, let's get this episode rolling. Oliver Austen, thanks for coming on the podcast.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. We had some scheduling conflicts and mostly on my side, but you finally made it. So, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Excellent. Thanks.
I wanted to have a bit of a chat with you because obviously you've been very much across the multi-unit game. We'll have a bit of a yarn around that. I'm pretty kind of keen to find out what's happening in that market in New Zealand at the moment and what you guys are doing to kind of get those projects, ticking along, because a lot of those projects aren't really going ahead at the moment, right? But first, before we get into that, give me a bit of a background. We always like to kind of figure out sort of who is Oliver. How did you grow up around Auckland, or where did you grow up?
Yep. So I've been in Auckland my whole life. Went to St. Kitts College.
Cool.
After that, did a business degree, then travelled, then building apprenticeship, then into Kalmar construction. So my thought process on that was always do the hardest first.
Right.
If you're going to have a long career, you want to be going to a 92-unit apartment block, which is an absolute nightmare. So that's full-on commercial construction, hundreds and hundreds of trades each day, a 3-year build, and you're fully involved in it, and it's just very complicated. So
that's what you did at Kalmar?
That was Kalmar.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, okay, cool. I want to talk about that. Firstly, St. Kitts.
Yes.
Who were you in high school?
Oh, the high school was interesting. Definitely sort of finding yourself. It's a very much you're still at a very young age and you're not sure what you want to do in your life, and do you follow your father's footsteps or your grandparents, or where do you go? So for me, I actually end up doing a business degree in marketing and management, nothing to do with building. And that was because it was my dad's side. But
What did he do?
Marketing management.
Right.
Yeah.
And where'd you go, Auckland?
Went to AUT in Auckland.
Oh, okay,
yes.
cool.
Yeah.
And you studied marketing and management?
Yes.
Got like a BCom or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what was that? What was uni like? Did you find yourself finally when you went to uni, or not quite?
I would say so. Uni is really good to show yourself you can stick to something. You're completing a 3 to 4 year course, a degree, and you've got to be in it the full time, and it's really a good thing to get that over the line, and then move on to your next stage, and what you want to do next.
Yeah. So do you think uni's still a good idea? Like, you've got a couple of daughters, right?
Yes.
Got young
Yes.
kids, young daughters. So you're a dad. When they turn 18 or whatever, would you recommend they go to uni?
100%. Education is the most important thing. I now look back on how long I took throughout my 20s, and I wouldn't recommend starting a business until your 30s. I sort of call it to myself the 10-year apprenticeship. and you need to spend that time. You can't fast track it, and I think we all just as an industry slow down, make your mistakes in your 20s, then start. There's no rush at all.
Yeah. And how old are you now?
32.
32. Okay, so you went to uni, got your degree, and then what? Did you always know that you wanted to get into construction or anything, or what did you do after that? Were you like, okay, I'm going to go traveling, or
Yes, so we went traveling with my only wife,
current wife? Not,
current wife. I've only had one, thank God. Then that was just to see the world and open your eyes to what's out there, and then always in the back of my mind, I wanted to do something practical. And construction. That's it. I'm always been interested in property, renovations, new builds, investing in property. So my grandparents did a lot of that on the shore, and major interest in property since I was young.
yeah. Did you ever read like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and those sort of books when you were younger?
Yeah,
or?
definitely. A lot of those books, and just teaching you sort of I don't know.
Yeah, it's all like the property related things, eh? Like I remember I was sitting one time, me and my wife was having a coffee or something, and I was just like, I was just saying to her, I was like, everyone that I know that are, if you look at people that are like sort of 50, 60, 70, and I was like, everyone I know that's really, really financially set have all made their money from property in New Zealand.
Definitely.
Like you can be romantic about, starting business, other sort of businesses or whatever, but in the end of the day, somehow through investment property or some development or a bit of both, or up, buying something and refurbing it or whatever, has always come back to property.
100%.
And so that's just the reality.
We bought our first property at 20 and then renovated that for 3 years, onto your next one, renovated that, and then into our current family home. So property, it's a huge, one of the major vehicles of any financial path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, especially in New Zealand, probably a bit of Australia as well. Okay, so after that, you then went travelling, and then did you go travelling first, and then you came back? And
yes, travelling. So we went through Europe, drove around 15,000 Ks, went to Running with the Bulls, Oktoberfest, all that sort of fun stuff.
Or like the classic, like OE.
Classic OE. Did the haka on Sail Croatia with a few of the lads. So it's good fun. Yeah. They love Kiwis over there.
Yeah. And then you came back, and obviously when you go travelling, it sort of clears your mind, makes you figure out what you really want to do in life, right?
Definitely.
So with a cleansed mind, you came back and you're like, okay, cool, I'm gonna. So it must be quite like you must have sort of parked the ego a little bit to go. I have a business degree. I've just travelled. I'm going to come back and like start getting onto get up early in the morning and go onto a building site that I know nothing about and start learning from scratch.
Yeah, definitely. It was definitely a wake-up call, in the middle of winter, getting the tool belt on. But it was an amazing experience. And ego in construction shouldn't exist, really. Like, you're only as good as your trades and what you know and what you're happy to put yourself in that sort of position. I've always just been big on you've got to lead and show that you can do what you're asking of other people.
Yeah. And so how long did you? So who did you work for? Was that at Kalmar when you were working as an apprentice?
So apprentice was Goodwin Construction.
Okay.
That's sort of mid-size. They do some high-end renovations and extensions. Then it was over to Kalmar, where you would call it sort of like a cadetship, where you're just learning and helping out the site supervisors and project managers.
Cool. So that's kind of a good way of doing it. So you didn't like go, I'm going to get qualified and go start my own business. You went and worked for a big company.
I think it's a really good way to do it, because it's very difficult, even if you're a top foreman, a top builder, to get your qualifications and say, I'm going to start a business. If you waited another 3 to 5 years, the experiences and the knowledge you gain is just so worth it. There's just no rush. That's what I really worked out in my process. Yeah.
Just like slowing it down, like seems to be the message I get from a lot of successful guys. Just don't rush, slow down, learn a bit more before you go out on your own.
100%.
The risk is just so high.
The risk is hugely high. Construction's millions of dollars, so any project is $1 million plus, and it's probably the biggest expenditure that couple will possibly spend in their lifetime. So you just can't make mistakes. It's just not an option, in my opinion.
Yeah, when you have to like risk $10 to make one every time, there's not a lot of that much room for movement in terms of making big mistakes.
Yep, it's their life. It's your life too. So you just got to really plan and really have a thought out process.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so after that, we had a little bit of a chat off air. So then you, from there, you kind of obviously learned a lot about multi-unit development. And then how many years did you work there before you moved on to Williams Corporation?
So Kalmar was 2.5, and then I moved to a company called Miles Construction, then to Williams Corporation.
Right.
Miles Construction did a lot of social housing, multi-unit, KO, but a lot of multi-unit, and then on to Williams Corporation, which I spent about 3 years at.
What's it like working at Williams Corporation? What's the vibe with those guys?
That was in the peak of the market, right? So that's when people thought there's not going to be a house to buy tomorrow. So that was full on, right? So you got sales agents constantly buying land, BC plans coming through, sites starting every second week. At the peak of Williams Corp, I was solely looking after 17 sites. So,
Jeepers.
yeah. So that's like doing an apprenticeship in development, right?
Yep.
You're looking after 17 sites, very structured processes, and very good at what they do. And now that I've done the amount of work condensed into that amount of time, what I'm doing now is, it's really manageable, and it's I can really slow it down and be effective for, the clients that we look after.
So when you look after 17 sites, what does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah. So you're starting at probably 6. You might go into the office to do a few emails and RFIs, all that sort of stuff, and then you're out on the road. You're going to every single site every day, taking multiple photos. You're doing about 5 roles in one. So you're a site supervisor, site manager, project manager, looking at design issues, and then coordinating all the subs. So
Jeepers.
full on.
Yeah, they pay a lot.
A typical salary, but that they have other incentives. So my uncle bought 6 houses off them, for example,
Right.
And you got a commission out of the sale.
Right.
So very fair company, and they did really well in their 20s.
Yeah, we're looking to get Matthew Horncastle on the podcast. I think he's pretty keen to come on at some point. What makes them so special? They're so young.
Yeah.
Him and Blair, right? And then, but they've run such an amazing business. Probably like $1 billion or something, right? That they've probably turned over.
Yeah.
What makes them? Because success leaves clues, right? Like, what have you seen in them that you've sort of taken into where you're at?
It would be the work ethic, just outstanding, right? Outstanding, right? So Blair approves every single invoice that comes through. The process, so we implemented and created, as a team as well as a company, checklists which have 150 items during the development process in the various sectors. So you've got finance, construction, design, the QA process. So in other words, they're just doing everything really, really well. And yeah, it's just really full on.
Yeah, and so with them, is Blair like more like the project guy, and then Matthew is more the front-facing guy, or is it
Matthew's the sales guy and the design guy, and then Blair is the QS and the project manager in charge of that side, but both sharing deals and just constantly looking for projects and land and that sort of thing. They do complement each other very well.
Yeah.
So how do they describe it? Matthew's jumping off the cliff, Blair's the rope, and Catherine, Matthew's mum, is holding Blair back.
Right.
So I'll never forget that. It's just like the perfect analogy.
Right, yeah. No, it can be pretty cool. It'd be pretty cool to get him on to kind of get his, just learn a little bit from him as well. So that'd be kind of fun.
Yes.
And then we just saw Duval, which is another big developer, and also they have a fund attached to that, and a few other businesses has just gone into, I don't know what they call it, temporary liquidation or whatever it's called. What would you say? What do you think was the sort of the downfall of that? Is it just market related, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, tricky one. Not that I don't know a lot about them, but I'll just as a glance, I would say just too big, too much of in a hurry. You know, like New Zealand's a small place. It is boom and bust, and it always will be. The current government is hopefully implementing all sorts of different stuff that we don't have it so intense, the cycle where it slows down for 2 to 3 years and it is more stabilised. But I think we've all got to remember that, it's very boom and bust, and it's just New Zealand. It's just slow and steady, and don't get big too soon.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on the current? Let's talk a little bit about the current multi-unit market in New Zealand and Auckland. From my point of view, just talking to people, it sort of looked like it was just like you said a few years ago, was just all guns blazing. People couldn't sell these units fast enough, and it sort of took a bit of a nosedive. Now, you have all these backlog of sites that they aren't developing now because the feasibility don't stack up. What are your sort of point of view on the current market at the moment? Where are things at?
There's a lot of different layers to it, right? Like the lower end of the market is the investment market, which is, if it gives you a return and it stacks up as an investment, there's nothing wrong with it, and they should go ahead. That's completely fine. So that's one option. You got to have that return, and it's got to actually work on paper. Then I think the market that's going really well is the mid to high end. So we have two of our sites at the moment is Takapuna and Remuera, both standalone houses. One has 3, one has 2. So that's taking an existing single house on both and putting 2 or 3.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got lifts, you've got high-end finishings, and it's just an appealing market for maybe someone with the kids have just left, or they're looking to retire, downsize. It's something that's going to be really appealing with how many the age of our sort of population.
Yep.
So I think that's a really good option, just building really good quality stuff in really good locations that work for clients' needs, and just having a really good product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got, I told you off air, I've got a friend that's looking to do a development at the moment in sort of more of a higher socioeconomic suburb. And what are sort of the things that he should be looking out for in that, in terms of if he's looking to, in terms of making it stack?
Yeah.
In terms of what are the square meter rates at the moment, building in those areas, and sort of what should he be focused on in terms of the end product, what clients like to see when they're downsizing?
Square meter rate for something mid to high end, probably if you just said 3,500 plus GST, that's slab upwards.
Right.
So that, you're turning the key at the end of the day, but it's not development costs. Development costs are roughly 100,000 per unit you put on the site. So that's really important to add in there. But in terms of the product, just catering for that market that you want to sell to. So you wouldn't have ovens at below bench height if, the elder people wanted to access them, right? Looking at the right layouts of kitchens, bathrooms, having baths, not showers over baths, having all level entry or lifts, etc. So just being really aware of who you're trying to sell to, because at the end of the day, they just won't buy them if they're not happy with what they're seeing.
Yeah, because it's going to be, because those are what sort of those units would go for like over 2 mil, right? Sort of
Definitely. They're, so Takapuna is well over 2 mil. That's in Lake Papoki Drive, really central, all day sun. Just really, really nice. But yeah.
So you just got to be, just got to be sort of careful, not careful, just be aware of just really know your end buyer.
Exactly.
And I guess the way to do that is probably talk to real estate agents, see what people are looking for, what's selling well, what's not, right?
Definitely. And you got to remember, development's not just build something and sell it. It is, a buyer's. That's the result at the end of the day. The buyer is purchasing the property. They have to want what they're buying. So I think gone are the days of just the cheapest tiles, the cheapest sort of kitchen setup. Just putting more thought into it is going to be massively important to do well, I think.
Yeah, and those. So obviously you're saying the lower end sort of struggling a bit. That sort of mid to upper end's a bit better. In that market as well, if you can afford it, would you recommend they build it in stage one of them or something? Would you always try to like sell it off plans to start?
I think both are good options. If you can, the low market at the moment, the client at the moment is holding on to them, so he'll hold on to them for another 6 months, then look at selling them. With most financing structures, you have to sell a couple off the plans.
Yeah.
But having a finished product is always the ultimate. You walk through it. I think that's the ultimate in a good market.
And what are the margins like profit margins like at the moment for developments like in the multi-unit space?
They are very difficult to stack up at the moment. So when we do like as many free feasibilities as we need to do for that developer or client to be comfortable with the product that we're building, a lot of them don't stack up. So a lot of them, you're making 10%, or in a really good one, maybe 15%. In the booming days, you're looking over like 30%. And that's when it's a bit funner. That's when it's like, because you want to be involved you want to be around money, basically. You want to be the client happy with the outcome and the return. You don't want to be scrimping on projects, trying to cut costs. So I think it's got to have a whole big revision of expectations on developments. A lot of sites don't stack up. A lot of feasibilities don't stack up. So it's going to be interesting moving forward on, what stands out and what works, which I think will be the middle to high end in that older market who have the money.
Yeah. And what sort of mistakes are you seeing some developers making out there at the moment?
Design would be the biggest one. So interior and exterior. Just not really thinking about it, or not getting the full flow of the project, or having stairs walking up to the front door, or just things that aren't really appealing to the general. You got to be, if you're selling an investment product, you got to appeal to 90% of the market, right? who want to buy it. And the ones that are making those simple mistakes, they're very hard to sell. Very hard to sell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's talk a little bit about your company,
Yes.
because there's like a few elements to it. You have you're a construction business,
Yes.
right? Austen Projects, and you sort of specialize in that multi-unit market, but then also at the same time, because of your experience, working for Williams Corp and other companies, and how many units, how many doors have you put up under your own company so far?
Under our company, I think we're on to our 5th project. So first financial year, it was around 2 million, which was partly project management, and it was also some, mostly project management. In the second financial year, which is this one, is closer to 10 million, and that's offering both project management. So that's normally catered to developers who have the money, who don't want to be involved, but want to move to the investor side. So I'll act as a project manager at a fixed fee to deliver that project for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And what would you? So you would essentially like act as the owner in terms of what you do for them. Like
Yep.
as a fully end to end.
End to end. So 2 projects we have on the go at the moment is they had a site, they had designed it for 6, they took it all the way to RC approval, then it was declined. So then I come along, get really involved with the design phase, see what will work, the most economical, the most profitable build that we can do on that site, then we will deliver it. But it's definitely being involved earlier on. Like that particular developer spent 300K, and that's gone, right?
Yeah.
So not ideal. If I can, my goal is to just provide value. Is my fees are irrelevant. It's just my goal is to have projects go smoother, to take the scare factor out of multi-unit stuff, and just have nothing hidden. Just have all your numbers in front of you. Have a very clear relationships with the finance team, the QS, the designers, and just really simplify the delivery process.
So how are you guys kind of unique? I guess you have like the real deep knowledge about the construction side. You know about the project management side,
Yep.
council. Your information and your feasibility is accurate because you understand the numbers. What sort of explain to me how you guys are sort of like uniquely positioned, I guess.
Yeah. So the two offerings are, one, it's the fixed fee project management. So our fees won't change for the delivery of a whole project, and that's based on the feasibility at the start of a project. That can save a developer, say 10% on average, on costs. So that can improve his return dramatically. And it's the time frames on how long we take to deliver products. So Takapuna, we were on site in March building, and we're finishing now. So it's at
So how long was that? Like 5 months?
5. When it's wrapped up with CCC, it'll be 7.
So 7 months, what, from the ground up?
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty fast.
Yes, and that helps developers and clients majorly because of the cost of finance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, with New Zealand and being semi-boom and bust, you've got to, what cycle are you in? You can't miss the cycle. It's great if you're going into a climbing cycle, and that's sort of what we're heading into now, hopefully. But you wouldn't want to be on the back end of a booming cycle. It's all about delivery and delivery at pace. I call it the 60-40 rule. So you do 60% up front of planning and 40% of delivery on site. So it's Delivery on the site should be easy based on the amount of work you put in before the project starts.
In terms of council and so on, so you guys would take care of all of that, making sure that you can get like title issued and all that in time? Yeah?
Yes, absolutely everything. So we'll do the design management before the project starts, then we'll do titles and CCC during the project, and we aim to have titles issued at painting stage. So that's a really good indication of you've done it in the right method. And it's very tricky. You've got multiple consultants, multiple inspections, multiple sign-offs, multiple parties, Vector, Chorus, Watercare, all require a different task to be done, a different way of doing things that it's a lot of management.
Yeah, it's kind of like that Watercare, like those are the ones that you miss, right? If you're a green developer.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that's going to hold up. And that's the stuff where you're paying like $4,000 a day.
100%.
Finance fees.
Yep. To get tricky things are like works over, a Chorus sign-off certificate, Vector completion certificate, Watercare sign-off, and then COA, EACC.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And it's just got to be done in that process. Or if you do it when you finish the project, you'll be adding about 6 months, 5 to 6 months to your project.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So from your point of view, it's very beneficial. From what I can tell, it's very beneficial to have you guys involved. Obviously, you can just purely be the builder, and you'll do a fixed price contract.
Yep. We'll be. So we have two options. It's either project management, manage your project on whatever it is, high-end homes, multi-units, or we will be a main contractor builder and deliver that at a fixed fee.
Yeah. Okay. So before I talk about the builder side, from the project management side, what sort of fees do you guys charge?
It does vary. If the project obviously is a high value, we wouldn't be charging the same amount we would if the project was $1 million.
Right.
So very project related, and the higher it is, the less the fee.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. And then you also believe from your efficiencies and your experience, you're able to even give them a better profitability. So then your fee,
It becomes, our goal is for the fee to become irrelevant. We hope that we provide the best service possible, that customer feels they've saved it in other areas, because I treat everyone's money like it's my money, and just, very, very careful with a lot of things. Like I just, on the way here, dropped some Placemakers materials off to get a credit for the client.
Right.
There you go.
That's pretty good. That's good service. So you, from a project management point of view, so let's focus on that. So or just the whole company, essentially. Talk to me through your company. So how many guys have you got working for you? Are they all employed, or is it contractors? Or
So the main part of the company is myself and my wife. So my wife is a qualified lawyer. She does our contracts and our interior design. So that's been a massive win, and one it's hugely helpful with the back end and also the front end, because we like to negotiate fixed price contracts based on what the client wants, not what we want. It's not about us. It's about the client getting the tiles, the kitchen, the flooring, the layout of the house that they want, and what they want to spend. So then we sort of reverse engineer it so they have the budget they want to spend, and they're happy with the product and what they're getting. And then once we move into construction, it's all contract. So all our plumbers, electricians, we've used on over 50 projects, all through Williams, all through my own personal renovations and builds. So those relationships are massive.
yeah, and so and then builders as well. So the chippies and stuff, they're all like contracted as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So what we do is we form a team based on that project. So we'll still use the same builders over and over again, but some are not suited to certain developments, and some are more suited to higher end projects that just need to take a little bit longer. So, and it also gives us it's the control too. We want to act as a team. So I'm only as good as them, they're only as good as me, and we're moving forward together into the next project.
Yeah. Okay. And then obviously you guys have the consulting team as well, right? That you've accumulated over time.
Yep.
And so the more you work together with those guys, the smoother and the trust is there. Because the trust is a big thing, right, at the start, especially if you're more green in development, because you're trusting a consultant will do something, doesn't always necessarily mean it will get done.
Yeah. The consultant side of development is one of the key elements, and you don't want to be trialling a new consultant just to see how it goes, because it is it's a big world out there. You want to have really good relationships. They want to be doing their part when it's required, and just as smooth as possible. But
Right.
you've got to know what their role is better than they do. Otherwise, you can't. It's got to be that knowledge first, then bringing them as part of your team.
Yeah, they can't be like your advisors throughout.
No, they're not your mentor, they're not your advisor, they're part of your team, and that's why the experience and the years of learning, it can't be replaced. It's got to be 5+ years of the sector you want to be in, then you can progress.
Right. So from the construction side, if you're someone that builds multi-unit, there's a lot more elements that are important to the project, right? That are different to a single family home. So for instance, speed of the project is probably one example. And what other areas do you have to kind of like be, almost niche to that?
Yeah. So when you're building a home, you're dealing with the specifications of the house. Then you're building with design changes, and CCC, which is your document at the end to say you're compliant. With development, add another 5 layers to it. You got your funding, your design, your consultants, your titles, your lawyers. There's a lot more layers, and it's just something that is just quite complex. Like I said, we have that document that has 150 items per sector that we need to go through and complete to get to the end.
Yeah.
And especially if you're speeding it up in brackets, you can't miss one of those items. If you miss one of those items, you're pulling up the driveways. It's serious consequences.
Yeah, so the reason I'm asking that question is because, someone might want to do a development and they go, I'll just use my builder that built our house to do the multi-unit development. And what you're saying is like you probably would advise them maybe against that.
I wouldn't use a builder that hasn't done multi-unit because one, they'll be learning on your project, and two, they just hadn't done it before. So, but that's not to say, we're the one-stop shop for multi-unit. It's just you've got to have done it, and you've got to have spent that time learning the process.
Yeah. And what advice would you have to people that, because builders listen to this and they want to get into their developments, potentially, whatever. What advice would you give around picking the right consultants? Like, how do you kind of what's a good process of bringing like a good level of consultants together, and who are all the consultants you have to think about?
I, with anything, definitely trust your gut on how you feel with that architect. So the architect's the big one. You want to get on with them really well. They want to understand your vision, what you want to spend, what your required outcome is. Then they'll have multiple consultants underneath them. So that's like the planner, structural engineer, civil engineer, geotech. You got flood, traffic, fire, so hydraulic. It can get more and more and more and more. We're doing a commercial extension, and that is about 10 consultants. So it's quite a process.
And as a a pure construction company that provides a fixed price contract to, developers or whatever, would your margins generally be a bit lower than someone building a new home for a family?
Yeah, we definitely flexible around our fees and our margin. It's always about the project first, and then we will head towards and see what is suited to that project. But very different. If you've got a big sort of standalone house that may take 2 years, we can do the same thing in 6 months. So we're making that amount in 6 months, so it doesn't need to be as high.
Right. Yeah. That's quite interesting that you say that. That's important to know.
Yeah.
If you can make it quicker.
If you drag your margin out over 2 years, it's going to be less. It's about how much you can achieve in that period of time.
Yeah. Awesome. This has been quite insightful. So this has been pretty good. We've almost the time's flying. We're almost at an hour already. So we're going to be talking about this for like another 8 hours, going back and forth. But no, that's good. In terms of where you're at right now, I mean, you're probably you're like a couple of years into your current business.
Yep.
And you've done a lot of your learning before you went into that, right? What is sort of success to you at the moment?
Success to me is enjoying what you're doing and spending the time with your loved ones as well, and working with really good people. That's massive, man. Like time's ticking, so you got to enjoy what you're doing every day. Have a laugh with the guys on site, take them out for lunch, buy them beers. Like this is life. You got to put a lot of effort into it, and get the rewards.
Just get one go at it, eh?
Exactly. There's no second chances, as they say.
No, that's good. And in terms of where you running your business or even working for as a project manager on a lot of those other multi units, what sort of what sort of the toughest times you've been through? Is there sort of anything you can sort of pinpoint in terms of a difficult time you've kind of worked through in this game?
I would say every stage of my career has had different learnings, and none has been better or worse. Everything's been developed me to where I am today, and I'm still learning every day.
And any massive development mistakes you've made in the last couple of years that you could
Not in the last couple of years, no. Not for the Williams was the biggest learning curve because you could again condensing, say, 20 years of work into 3. That's the biggest one.
So builders are very much like practical beings,
Yes.
very much like input, output, and when you generally tell them that you could spend less time and make more money, that doesn't always compute, So how have you find the transition, from working as hard as you have to now working probably smarter, right? Would you say that? You got time, you mentioned before, you got time to pick up your kids from school or from school or preschool or kindy or whatever, and you have a lot more time, and you meaning you can bring more work on as well, but you're getting good returns. How have you sort of navigated that in your head, if that makes sense? I don't know if that's a good way of asking it, but have you come to the realization now that you could, that if you work smarter, you can almost have a better outcome? And how do you not feel guilty about that, I guess, is the real question.
Yeah. The first year of business is terrifying. So you're a male or a female. I'm a male. You've got your family you have to take care of. You want to make your family proud. You don't want to fail. So it's huge. But it just gets better. So it's got to be consistent, and it's got to be working hard, and it's got to have systems. And in this second year, it's just got better. Your phone, I used to go to 10 meetings a week just to get one job. And I might not even get the one job, but I was happy that because I didn't get that job, there'll be something coming up. So just, just look ahead, stay positive, and it does get better the longer you're in it.
Yeah. You've got a family, right? So you've got a few kids,
Yes.
as you mentioned before. How do you sort of navigate like family life and work and what sort of practical things have you started to implement to kind of...
Oh, to be honest, you don't in your first 2 years. I'll be asking my wife, project questions and design questions over dinner, in bed, whatever. You either go hard or go home, basically. You've got to just put it all in there. And business, it's full on, but it does get better. It does get better.
Yeah. And do you think that in the future you'll be doing a lot more, focusing on building the construction business itself, or do you think you'll be doing a lot of your own developments in the future?
Definitely my own developments, as well as construction. So my biggest thing is I enjoy the process. That's how my brain works, is the process of delivery gets me up every day. If we stop there, I'm affecting a lot of other people. So that's the big one for me, but I will definitely get into, joint ventures with the right people, or we're currently looking for land ourselves, which is something cool to look at down the track, but all in good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you the kind of guy that's like late at night, like looking at Trade Me, looking at different sites and doing little feasibilities in your head and figuring out if things could work? Are you just constantly doing that?
Yes, and around the business, so constantly looking at Xero, constantly checking your emails. So my phone, sometimes you can have 100 calls a day, but yeah, I wouldn't change it. It's good.
Yeah. What numbers are important to you in your business? You say you're constantly looking at Xero.
Yep.
What are the numbers that are sort of important to you to make sure you're on track?
I would say it's profit margin, and profit, because that pays the bills. Revenue's great, but it doesn't mean a lot. So yeah, it's monthly profit really. And if I can break down my projects and doing better year on year monthly, that's excellent.
Yeah, and part of that is a big emphasis for you to keep an eye on your overheads and things like that?
Oh, 100%. We don't have any overheads apart from home office, my car, and my phone. I highly recommend not to have overheads in your first couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good idea to go buy machinery, the big ute. Just you sacrifice for your first couple of years and then it will improve. And you can have those luxuries.
Yeah, later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people love it, just kind of getting the old Ranger, with all the extras, on a high purchase, or, it's kind of like, it's very easy to do, right? When you go out on your own.
It goes back to like Matthew as well from Williams. He said if you can't afford it to pay it in cash twice, don't buy it. Which has always sort of stuck with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll be surprised how much money you actually have.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Looking back at your career so far, you had a very kind of a unique one. If you want to just move a little bit closer to the mic there, sorry. You've had like a bit of an interesting career in a sense that you did the business degree first and then you kind of went into, getting your qualification and then the business. So you've done a lot of learning until, even though your business is only 2 years old,
Yep.
You've done a lot of the learning leading up to it, which I think is a smart way of doing it. Looking back now at that, is there anything that you'd change or anything that you thought, regret or thought you could, you'd do different if you could go back in time?
Not at all. I'm really happy I didn't start any earlier, because the risks are too high. And like I said before, it shouldn't be a risk to deliver someone's family home. It should be a process. So I'm happy I didn't rush it, and it's just sort of set me up to now start and take off in a steady sort of way.
And if sort of money or status was not an object, like how would you spend your time now?
ongoing learning would be the biggest thing, and just new experiences.
Do you love learning and new things and
New things, constant new things, and experiences.
yeah? Do you have any hobbies or anything?
I attempt golf, which is can be interesting. But what else? A bit of shooting. My wife has a
Yeah.
farm, claybird shooting. But yeah, a lot of it is just family time. So weekends with the kids and the family.
Cool, awesome. I'm just asking some interesting questions. Always guests like these ones. So, like, if you were less afraid of other people's opinions, what would you talk about more?
I'd probably say your feelings and how you're feeling that day based on what's happened that day.
Do you talk more about your feelings?
No.
Oh, are you saying you should talk less about your feelings? Or you say
Probably talk more, communicate more
Right.
with those people who are close to you.
yeah,
It would be a big one. Yeah, open up.
yeah? I think that's good. And what's the thing that's making you happiest right now in life?
It's providing a good life for my family is the biggest thing. And yeah, having options, spending more time with them. That's massive. Like I used to leave home at 7, spend an hour and a half in traffic there and an hour and a half back in traffic. So 3 hours a day in the car. I'd get in at 6 o'clock and then go to sleep. That's not fun.
Yeah, that's not kind of a way to live, eh? Because
No.
yeah, because I used to do 2 hours a day. So, and then I worked out that's 40 hours a month. So a whole work week in traffic per month is not, once you start working that back, it's sort of,
Success for me is being in control of your own time is massive.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And who's been the most influential person in your life so far?
I will have to say my wife. We met at school. Since
High school sweethearts?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yuck.
So
That's cute.
yeah, it is. Yeah. And she's just the one who's been through everything with you, all the jobs, all the different the degrees and the learning, and here we are, sort of into that family stage.
Oh, that's cool. And how has becoming a dad, because your oldest one's like 6, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How has becoming a dad changed how you sort of operate your business? Do you feel like you would have done it differently if you didn't have any kids?
No real change. Yeah, it's all sort of panned out quite how it should have, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And finally, what sort of role has failure played in your success so far? And do you see failure as something that's good or bad, or what's your sort of relationship with failure?
Oh, failure to me is the same as risk. I described it to someone the other day. I said it's like crossing the road, right? Risk and failure. If you cross the road when the lights are on, it's a very risky situation. But if they're off, it takes it away. Like it shouldn't be overcomplicated. It should just be a thought out process, and you're always going to fail, but you've got to get there. You've got to get there and go through those failures. I've failed multiple times, but you just got to learn to recover faster and move on and learn from it. Yeah, don't fail twice. Don't cross the road twice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way. To finish that component, I want to do some rapid fire questions.
Yes.
Before I let you go, it's been great to it's been great to have you on and kind of just learn the multi-unit and the development angle as well. Like a lot of builders listening to this, they may only be focusing on single home. They want to maybe work with more developers in the future, or they may want to get into development themselves. Yep. And I think it's super valuable to kind of provide them with that information. And so, yeah, thanks for being open with all the information,
No problem.
So, yeah, rapid fire. Let's get into it. Oliver, okay, how big is your team?
In the office, it's only 2.
Okay. And obviously you have that people on all the contractors and consultants. How many projects did you complete last year, or how many units did you build last year? Should I say?
Last year, we'll say 2 projects, which was about 5 units. This year, it will be 10 plus.
Okay, awesome. What was your turnover last year? 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 10, 10 to 15, 15 plus.
Last year was 2. This year will be closer to 10 plus.
Wow, that's a big jump.
Yeah.
What's the lowest gross profit margin building companies should be aiming for when they're building multi-unit?
I'll say 15%.
Okay. Free quote or paid quote?
Paid if it's the first time, and unpaid if it's a existing client.
Right. And you do like free feasibilities, right, for
Yes.
clients?
Yes.
So and what does that involve? They come, they give you a site, and they
Yep.
go, "This
Yep.
is
So
what we want to do."
We'll either, if it's basically an investor developer, he'll want us to find him a site, do a scheme plan, do a feasibility to show the return on the site, and we'll do that multiple times. Up to 10 to 15 times until he finds one he's comfortable with. But yeah, any sites or any projects we'll do a feasibility on, show the numbers, show the return.
And how do you know he's not wasting your time? Like, is it just part of your sales number? It's just the percentage thing, like some.
It goes back to that Vivian interview you had around the 400 million discussion, and he gets 40 million of work. And I totally agree with that. Like, it's just time in the seat and then how much work comes through. You can't control people's emotions and what they're going through in their life. So you've just got to be involved in discussing more and more projects.
Yeah. Yeah, there's profit in all labour, someone said to me once. And so, and then another quote around that I've mentioned here a couple of times is that whole, if you do more than you're getting paid for, eventually you get paid for more than what you do. And this kind of fits into that, right? Eventually those developers will come back around if they don't go this time around. Or
100%.
Okay. Project management software or spreadsheets?
Both.
Fixed price contract or charge up for your multi-units?
Fixed price.
Yeah.
We've just know the numbers so well, and we want to be involved with the no surprise projects.
Yeah.
Where the client knows every single dollar that they're going to spend.
Yeah. And from the financing point of view and all that, you probably need all fixed price for everyone so you get your funding. And
Definitely.
EV or petrol head?
Petrol.
Would you rather have a beer with a consultant, a subby, or a council member?
Probably a consultant, just because of their knowledge base. I'm around subcontractors every day, which is great. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff happening in different industries.
Yeah. Jock or hippie?
I played rugby, so jock.
Did you play rugby for St. Kitts?
Yeah, St. Kitts.
What position?
Prop.
Prop. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I would have played. Okay, I went to grammar, so I would have played against St. Kitts. Is that you guys have the fields with the views?
Yeah, and the grandstand. And
Yeah.
it's really nice out
That's
there.
awesome. Yeah. Had a few guys on here, from St. Kitts,
Oh, very good.
I think. Wine or whiskey?
Red wine.
These days, apprentices are A, soft, B, open-minded, D, hard workers. So you cross paths with apprentices much or not really?
Not really, but based on some, of the other age group, hard work is not going to replace any education. You've got to just work hard. So it's not going to be easy, and you just got to get in and do it. Don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah. Are you too mean or too nice to your staff or contractors?
We'll say mean because I'm hard but firm, but also respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. My firm's good. Most used emoji.
Probably the sideways laughing face.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah, that's a good one.
I also try to. You can't take it too seriously too.
Yeah.
Things happen.
Because sometimes the normal smiley face is not enough, eh? It's almost like wallpaper now. So if you put the normal one, they go, oh, you're not really finding that funny. But if you do the sideways one, then you really find that funny,
Definitely.
right? It's
Definitely.
Kind of what I think. Are you an extrovert or introvert?
I'd probably say more introvert.
Cool. What song gets you pumped up for the day, if you have one?
Me and my daughter's favourite at the moment is Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. It gets you pumped up. What's your favourite business or non-business book?
The Nike story is pretty epic.
That's good. Shoe Dog?
Shoe Dog.
Yeah, that's a good one, eh? It's a
that-
great book.
That's just hard work.
Yeah.
And he just turned up every day and
Just keeps failing. Like, even though he's got like hundreds of millions of sales, it's still like can go down any moment, right?
yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a great book, actually. I haven't read that one in a while. What's one item you can't live without?
I'll say my car.
Yeah. Get
My
around.
cell phone, probably.
Yeah,
The tool of the trade. That would be the phone.
exactly. Yeah,
car
we
and
all
the
love
phone.
our phones.
Yeah,
Too much sometimes.
definitely.
Cool. Oliver, did you have fun?
Yes. No, thanks for having me. It was really good to meet you and discuss, multi-unit stuff.
Yeah, no, it's good to have you on, and I'm sure we'll continue and probably get you on again in another capacity to talk more development stuff or whatever. So no, it's been good fun for me. So
Thanks a lot, mate. Appreciate it.